So I'm here in the studio chatting to the new artist Sid from Cooper Art, and we're going to find out a little bit more about him, a little bit more in depth. Now, how did you get into your art? Do you want to tell everybody who's watching this what really prompted you to do it and push you?
Um, Good question. So, as I went into COVID, I was I was technically identified as a musician, let's say, and I was in bands. Obviously, that got ripped away in COVID, where I found myself kind of locked away. It was kind of locked away. Everyone was locked away, weren't they, in isolation or whatever. And for me, because that huge part of my life had been removed, I needed something else to fill it. And for some reason, one day it was after a massive mushroom trip, but I'm not going to go into that. One day I decided I wanted to paint that. So I'd had this incredible, like, never really had
You wanted to
mushrooms.
paint this vision.
Yeah, I wanted to paint this vision
Right, okay.
because I need to get it down. I need to get it out there because I had such a great time. Like, and I don't think I'll ever come back from that really. But and so yeah, I had some old acrylics that were lying about the house and some paintbrushes, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try painting again because when I was younger, I used to draw quite a lot, and I used to love art
Okay.
and stuff. And then I kind of just it just disappeared for other things. And yeah, and then I started again. I was just kind of like, oh, what about this mode of expression? And then yeah, since then it's kind of grown out of that. Like I wasn't doing it constantly at that point. I was just dipping my
You were
work.
just playing with
Yeah,
it.
I was playing. It was a form of play exactly,
Yeah.
which is what it is
Yeah.
anyway. Which create what creating is,
I
but
have to I have to just say, for obvious reasons, at this moment in time, we're not advocating you should do drugs before you start painting.
exactly.
That's a totally different story, another story. But out of COVID, like so many other people, and you found this artistic outlet. Was it something to do with your mental health as well? How did it, if it was, how did it help you cope with the stress of COVID and not being able to be sociable and not being able to do anything? How did your art help you to deal with your mental health?
Like I said, going in my life was very different than it was going out of COVID, and I feel like when I don't know if this is the same for everyone, but it was for me. It felt like my world had
Blown
been
apart.
blown apart,
Yeah.
yeah, and Napoleon blown apart. But then, and I feel like the art was basically me trying to put that world back together and to try and make sense of the world and to bring meaning back to my life and give myself a purpose again. And which it has done in a way. It's been a struggle because I feel like I'm learning a lot. I don't feel like, well, it does. I think in images. Do you think in words or images?
It depends. Sometimes I think in colour,
Right.
which
Okay.
is which is
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
But for what I do, I also think in smells because
Right.
that's part of
Yeah.
what I do, obviously. But for you, I think it was important that you needed this outlet,
Yeah.
and obviously from a creative point of view, you came up with Blue Man. So tell me about Blue Man. Tell me about the story without telling whoever's watching this too much because there's lots more to come. Tell me about this particular one and what prompted you to paint this
This painting.
this one.
This painting. Um. So I have massively, again, since I feel like everything hinged on COVID for me in my life and who I am now. And during COVID, I got massively into symbolism, religious symbolism. That came a part of it, obviously, because I'm exploring the full range, really. And these religious stories, how at the same time I was making these images and things were appearing in these images where I don't know where they came from, but they seem to make sense when I looked at them, and they've obviously come from somewhere. And I kind of needed to understand what these images mean. The snake, the mountain top, the eagle, um, the sunrise, the moon, all that kind of stuff. The crows, the wolves, all and I needed. I feel like again, it's a form of play, and I feel like symbolism is a form of play in a way. You're playing with images to make sense or to give truth to the world, which I feel personally we have like just it's a forgotten language for me that
Okay.
that I feel we miss nowadays. And maybe that's just trying to creep back into my world, and that's kind of what these are. This is obviously it's called the fallen angel. We all know the story of Satan in a way that he was cast out of heaven. I suppose is my depiction of that within the context of this Blue Man story.
Interesting. Tell me what you feel like when you're painting something like this or doing any painting, because this isn't the only kind of painting you do. You do portraits as well, but again, we can talk about that at another time. But tell me how you feel when you're painting Blue Man.
Um, I feel like a child again. I feel like a child again. It's again with I feel like it's cropping up a lot in this. It is there's a lot of play. I feel calm. Time doesn't exist. Um, I feel like I'm just being driven on by the colours that are appearing. Um, the initial idea just comes from something that's obviously it's invisible in the imagination, and then I'll get it down. I'll paint it. I'll draw it on a basic outline, and as the painting's going on, more and more things are appearing. It's like I plant a seed, and then out of that grows, the branches, the leaves, and stuff like that. And that's kind of
So how do you go about starting one of these paintings? Do you just, I don't know, it might be a sunny day and you suddenly think, oh yeah, I need to do another Blue Man painting.
yeah.
Is it that kind of impulse, or do you have a particular plan that you want to paint this way now, or is it just very organic and it just grows like you just say,
Yeah.
it develops from a seed? But what gets you to the seed part?
Early on, it was very intuitive, or it was just I had a flash of an idea. The first blooming painting I ever did was the character reaching for the sun, coming out of a cave. That was just very much inspired by Plato's allegory of a cave. Um, I'm not going to explain that now, but people can go and look into that. But so that was kind of I felt like early on there's a conflict building at the minute where I am perhaps trying to think about it a bit too much rather than letting it just come out of me. And that's the conflict at the minute I'm going through. So I'm kind of just not trying to rush these things. I've got an idea at the minute, and it's growing now in my head. Where I've just been to Lisbon in a gallery, and I saw an image, and I thought that set something off in my mind, and I've kind of like built that image in my head now. Where I'm getting to a point where I'll get the canvas out and I'll start to first draw it, and I'll outline it in like a yellow ochre, and then I will basically fill. It becomes like paint by numbers in a way, sort of. But yeah, but it changes. It's not always. The initial idea is in my mind, but like I say, it becomes like I suppose like sculpting the canvas in a way, where the initial idea isn't always exactly the same as how it turns out.
So it can change.
This was quite similar. This was like
Yeah.
I was in the flat talking to my friend. The idea came. I went straight in. I just bought this canvas because I wanted to do something that's a little bigger than anything I'd done before. And the ideas came, and I went straight from talking to him into a room, and I drew it out. And then it was sat there for a little bit, and I was like thinking about where I could go with it and stuff. And I will do spend a lot of time just meditating on it and just looking at the painting. There's a lot of that.
So for the last couple of years, you've been coming up with these ideas, and you've been painting the series and doing a few others at home.
Yeah.
Now that you've moved into this studio where we are today, how do you feel that's going to impact on your work that you do? Is it going to make you feel even more relaxed? Is it going to inspire you to do more, or what? How are you going to feel about being in this dedicated workspace?
Good question. So I feel what I can only go off my experience and what it's done to me so far, and I feel like I've needed a space, my own space for ages now. I've been desperate to kind of you knew that. That's why when this opportunity came up, to share this room, which has been great. But I feel one obviously it kind of drove out the business side into me, which is why now all of a sudden I've started to be able to organise prints and get myself organised upstairs, having my own little dedicated workspace. It doesn't feel like you're coming to work, but it feels like a workshop, doesn't it? It
which
does
is
is great because you get into that mindset. And it's like, right, we're making something now. And also, I suppose at the same time, you're in these corridors, and these corridors are full of incredible and creative people. I feel like I've been very isolated with my work so far, and it just felt there's definitely a community vibe in this building, isn't there? I'm looking forward to exploring that a bit more. To be fair, like you say, on October the 4th when we have the open day, but I feel like it's just drawn out a bit of confidence in me, maybe.
Okay. So you feel rather than coming out of COVID, which was very isolating for a lot of people,
Yeah,
you feel now that you've got this dedicated space, and as you say, you're around arty people,
yeah.
to use a particular phrase, which I'll probably get in trouble for calling them arty people, but I know them well enough, and I can say that. Do you feel that it's going to really inspire you a lot more, so that rather than just doing the Blueman series, that you could end up with another series of things, or you go more into the portraits? Where do you think the future is going to be by having this dedicated painting space?
Like you say, it's a base where I can just come and go whenever I please, which is great. I don't have to worry about tidying up now, which I had to do when I was painting these in the flat.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, I know that you're, I know that you're keeping an eye on that. But yeah, I mean, the kind of aim for me is obviously I want to tell a story out of this. Well, it's not I want to tell a story. I feel like something's trying to tell a story through me.
Okay.
So that's my main aim. Now, if you're going to put it into a hierarchy, then at the same time, I love painting these portraits that I've been making because I feel like I improve a lot more in them, and I start to my technique and everything gets better. My vision, um, I start to see things, the way to work colours and stuff like that. It's, it's like going. I feel like that's more going to the gym. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
With the portrait side of
Yeah.
things. So I aim to do. Obviously, there's people in my life that I want to do these portraits of. I've got ideas for that. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I try not to think too hard about it, Phil.
So again, it comes back to being very organic.
Yeah, 100%.
You may wake up, as I said, one day, and you suddenly think, "Oh, I want to do this." Which to have that kind of freedom, particularly after coming through COVID and everything else, is just amazing. Tell me about this particular one. Now, how long did it take you to paint this?
So that took. Obviously, I'm not paid. I'm not. Every hour, every day. I've got a job at the end of the day, so I need to kind of fit in with that. But this took about 3 or 4 months in total. There was a gap between when we moved into this place, and then I finished it off like putting the gold leaf on and stuff. So I'd say about. I'd give that 3 months in my mind.
This represents 3 months of your life, if you like.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't constant, and it would be very nice if you could give your job up and actually get to that point.
It's 3 months thinking about it.
Yeah,
it's not constantly on my mind. That's all I'm thinking about.
Exactly.
So it is.
So how can people get hold of a copy of this? What's the best way?
So I've just set up a website for the first time. So now I have this base, another base, which is an online base, which is good. SidCooperArt.com. There is this print on at the minute. The framed one is actually sold out, which is like unbelievable. But yeah, it's mad.
But you still have prints.
It's a crazy feeling, but there's still prints.
But there's only a few left now.
Yeah, there's not many. And then once that's kind of done, I think it's like every 2 months we're going to do it. We'll release the next one, and it will turn into a little series. So if people who like collecting things and stuff, like I do, I suppose in a way, this would be good. You can enter into the story with me because, like I say, I'm discovering all this as I'm going along. So
people, in real terms, then people can put their own interpretation on your artwork, which of course art is very subjective anyway, and it depends on the individual.
I go with the opposite of that.
Go on.
I don't believe it is subjective.
Why?
Why? Because I don't believe in relativism. I also believe I believe in objective truth, objective goods, objective beauty. I believe there is a source of beauty that shines through beautiful things that people do, beautiful works of art, and I'm more inclined to try and point towards that. I feel like we need to get out of our own heads. I feel like if everything's opinion based, I feel that's a lower version.
That's interesting.
knowledge
So,
for me.
so in that case, does it mean that people either love this or hate it?
It's yeah, that's when it becomes difficult. But like, if it's difficult, that's where the conversation opens up, in it, which is good because then you start to bridge divides. If it's just my truth and your truth, then we're at odds against each other from the start. If we try to work together to decide, is this thing true? Is this, like say, a work of art truly beautiful? Is it? And for me, to be truly beautiful, it has to be aiming towards the good, which is if you go back to Plato, is highest is the essence of good.
Yeah.
You know, for me at the minute, well, not at the minute. For me, I've gone back. It's God for me at the minute, but like good God, you know, it's that highest point. And I feel like to determine what is like the true, the good, the beautiful, that you decide, is it aiming? Are we aiming at that? Are we aiming at something that's past the material world, which is, again, going to make me sound crazy in this day and age, but I think from creating this stuff, because like I say, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's from the imagination, and then it comes onto the canvas, and it comes into the material world. So I feel like, what is, you can't see imagination, doesn't it?
But this is your imagination.
This is my imagination.
This is what's going on in your head.
So suppose, yeah. So yeah, and then you go, well, there is a truth to what this means. Right? I suppose at the same time, we're going to get really philosophical here. There is a truth to what that means, again, to me, but because it's based on an ancient story that's been shaped through time, it's a pattern. Like, it's more focusing on a pattern of a fallen angel, a fallen man. We all fall all the time. You know what I mean? And that's what the whole stories of getting back up. It's like that constant down and up and down and up. That's life. That's being a human.
Interesting. So I know, but people watching this probably won't know. I know there's a whole series of these, and I know what's going on with it for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So the important thing, I suppose, for all of this is that if people really want to get into the story, as it were, or into your story, really they need to start collecting. And they need to start collecting with this one, because there'll be a few surprises for them. Spoiler alert. Because I know what's coming. And, I've got friends who have seen some of your other artwork, and they've said, wow, when this gets released, I want one of these. Yeah. I said, well, you need to get the previous ones first before you can get number 3.
Two great salesmen.
So it means then that these particular ones are on limited edition. This is mine. So if anybody wants to frame one, you're not having this. This is mine. I didn't pay for it. It was a gift, just in case anyone asks. And really, once the next set of finished, am I right in saying they won't be able to get any more of this, or will you release it, more of them perhaps at a later date when the series is coming to an end?
Yeah, the aim, the main aim is for printed a certain amount off. That's it. This is your only chance to get it. Whether we later down the line, we do like
a rerun,
of a certain amount, depending on how well it's done, how many people like it. If people get to see it in person, they might want that. They might want that image, but it might be slightly different. You know what I mean? It won't. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same one, because I feel like that should be special to the people that bought it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people do want to see this in real life, they can come here to the studio. As we said, on the 4th, which is the 200th anniversary of Hope Mill, which is where A1 Studios are, which is where this studio is. And they can actually come and see this. Now, the question is, are they going to be able to see all the others at the same time? Or are you going to hide all those and save them for another time?
Good question. I like to be mysterious, Phil, as you know. But I like that for me, this is one that's going to be on show. So you'll be able to come and see this, especially for the people who've actually bought it. That might be a great opportunity to see it in real life, because it's shrunk down here. On the camera, it looks small, but it's quite
substantial.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be on show, I think, on the floor too. But I'm going to have so with that gone, there's going to be more space on this wall. So there will be a few others, I think. Not fully decided yet, but which ones I'm going to show. But
you can always cover them over with a sheet and put being released on this
yeah,
date.
exactly, yeah.
Wait and see,
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
mysterious.
Could do that. I might show what's going to be next. Maybe.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, for anyone who's watching this, I'm not just saying this because I know this guy. He's a lovely, lovely person. He's very, very talented. And if you want to get hands on one of these, albeit in a poster form, just go on the website, get in touch with Sid, go on his Instagram, and get yourselves a copy and start the process. Start the process of getting a full range of this Blue Man artwork. So thank you very much, Sid.
Thanks for having me, Phil. Really
It's
appreciate
no
it.
problem. And the drinks are on you.
The drinks on me. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks very much.